So on the screen right now, I have information that I received from somebody inside Airbus. In fact, if you take a look at this is a kind of a video which he sent me where you can see the amount of updates that are going through every day for the software. And on this list, you can see all the different aspects where Skywise, which is just literally Foundry, is actually being implemented inside an airline. A US flagship carrier tracking to save 13 million per year in fuel costs after integrating load sheets, dispatch data, sensor data, and flight ops data and aircraft technical data. Hey, this is Tom, and today's video is going to be about Palantir. So if you have any sort of interest in Palantir, I think you should watch this video. Now, my approach to the whole content I do about Palantir is I try to provide something that the market doesn't have. That's why I think my videos were popular in the past, is because I give you something different, either from an analysis standpoint that does not exist out there, or from a research standpoint, because people from these companies actually reach out to me and give me a lot of information that I can share with you. In this video, I want to do a hybrid between these two. Now, for once, we have to finally close the chapter on the whole SBC argument. I read the Seeking Alpha article who completely botched the SBC issue with Palantir, SBC being the stock-based compensation. I'm going to take apart that article and I'm going to prove you that whoever wrote it doesn't really understand how corporate-based compensation works with these type of companies. Also, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some test cases I got from an employee inside the organization that works with Foundry, specifically an airline organization that has a lot of test cases to share, and I'm going to put it on the screen. There's no other place to see it. This is the only place where you get to see these test cases, because they also show you a lot about the way Palantir works and a lot about the way Foundry works. A lot of interesting insights. Mostly the value that they bring is clearly evident there. The third thing I finally want to refute is the whole nonsense I hear people talking about Palantir as a consultancy. It's not a software company. And to this point, there's a lot of people who actually debate about it and they say different things. In today's video, I'm going to show you proof, 100% irrefutable proof that this is a software company, not a consultancy, using data, irrefutable evidence to finally close the chapter. Somebody texts me in the middle of my spiel. Close the chapter on the whole Palantir is a consultancy. So let's get started.
My name is Tom Nash, and I quit my corporate job as a senior financial analyst to break down companies for you. If there's one thing you need to know about me, I don't take bullshit from anybody.
If this is your first time here, my name is Tom. I used to be a financial analyst. Now, as you can see, I'm a full-time YouTuber. I'm here to bring you my knowledge, my information about the stock market. And the only thing I ask of you is not to click nothing, not to smash nothing, not to buy nothing, not to sign up or subscribe to nothing. Just give me your attention. If you came across any articles about Palantir, you probably heard these two arguments. Number one, stock-based compensation dilution is killing Palantir. Number two, Palantir is not scaled up. It's a consultancy, not a software company. And number three, nobody understands what the hell Palantir is doing. What is their product? How does it work? How does it make money for the customers that it actually serves? And in this video, I'm going to solve all three. Let's start with the stock-based compensation. Now, I'm not going to give clout to this gentleman who wrote the article on Seeking Alpha, although I think that article deserves a 1 out of 10 for understanding how corporate stock-based compensation works. Essentially, I'm just going to show you the claim and I'm going to refute it in 5 seconds because it's that easy. That gentleman basically said, well, here are the numbers for the stock-based compensation for Palantir, and the numbers are very high. Look at how much stock-based comp they're giving to their employees, and that causing dilution, basically causing you actually to get less money or less value as an investor, I guess. That's the claim. And while I'm not going to argue here that stock-based compensation isn't high for Palantir, it's definitely way up there. But I'm going to argue that it's a good thing, and I'll explain to you why it's a good thing. And this is not coming from some Seeking Alpha writer. This is coming from a guy who worked in corporate America in massive corporations who understand what stock-based comp is and how it works. So you have to understand that with massive corporations like Tesla and Microsoft and Google and Facebook and Palantir, they're competing for a very small pool of excellence. The majority of companies in the world are competing for a minority of the top employees. The top 20% of companies in the world, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Teslas, the Palantirs, are competing for the top 1% of employees. And it's a tough competition. Now, granted, if you're not in the top 1%, you are the one hunting for a job. It's not your oyster. I mean, you're having a difficult time. You have to interview. You're basically trying to get a job. These guys, the top 1%ers, they are the ones being hunted. In fact, they're interviewing the employers. I mean, they're basically an NBA player going into a massive club with a ton of women. Now, in that club, there's going to be a lot of dudes, a lot of girls. But you know that most girls will be looking at LeBron or KD or whatever NBA player walks into the door. The same thing with the top 1% of employees. Now, These companies compete very harshly for these employees. And if you're a cash-rich company like a Facebook or a Google or a Tesla, if you're established, if you're massive, you can throw basically a Brinks truck at them. Hey, here's a shit ton of money. And then they can basically compete amongst themselves. A company like Palantir can't do that. Even though it's a massive company with $40 billion of valuation, they can't compete with the Googles, the Facebooks, as far as the level of monetary compensation they give to the top employees. They just can't. They also don't have enough clout. I mean, it's far cooler to say you work for a Facebook or a Google at the dinner table with all your family, like all 30 of them or 40 of them, rather than Palantir. Now, they have to change it somewhere. They have to make it more attractive for those 1%ers to pick them rather than Google or Facebook or Tesla. If you walk through the door and you're that 1%er, you're going to be doing massive, important work from day one. You're not going to be moving up the chain. You're going to be doing interesting, exciting projects from day one, and you're getting equity in the company. Even though we're a 17-year-old company, which is kind of strange to give out basically startup level equity, but we're doing this to attract you, the best employees. So essentially, as the company gets older, they give out less and less equity. Basically, that's how it works. When the companies become like a 20, 30-year-old company, there's no equity. There's no options. But if you're a startup, you're giving up a lot of equity because you don't have a lot of money. So Palantir are making a conscious choice to behave like a startup, giving people a lot of equity so they can attract them and retain them. This level of compensation costs the company $0. So as a cash flow item, that's not existent. You're giving away something in the future. No cash is being spent right now. More cash can go to R&D and to resources, into actually building your infrastructure. And you're getting to retain that employee because he becomes a shareholder in your business right away. I think it's genius. And I think I'm kind of surprised other companies at Palantir's level, not that there's a lot of companies at Palantir's level, are not doing the same thing.
Money talk.
Saying that this is a disadvantage and this is a problem for Palantir shows a lack of understanding of how real-life corporate competition for employees works. And before we go through the third part, where I'm going to show you actual test cases that came from Palantir clients that sent it to me to show you the actual numbers that's going to blow you away, one more point of emphasis here. So I want to address the issue that people are saying about Palantir. Well, Tom, Palantir is a consultancy. It's not a software company, blah, 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 blah. Now, a lot of people who pretend to be professionals, they have big whiteboards where they jog shit and they sell software and all this nonsense. They pretend to know what the hell they're talking about. Obviously, not so much. So let me explain. Palantir is definitely not a consultancy. All you need is just a look at what's going on with their user base. So on the screen right now, I have information that I received from somebody inside Airbus. And that guy inside Airbus basically showed me how many active users this software actually has just in Airbus. We're not talking about all the other clients. That's one Palantir client. How many users are using the system on a daily basis? How many active users? As you can see in the screen right now, the active users went from 15,000 to 20,000 just in the last year alone. So as of today, we have 20,000 active users to this software just in one single client of Palantir. Those numbers cannot be consultancy just on the face of it. In fact, if you take a look at this is a kind of a video which he sent me where you can see the amount of updates that are going through every day for the software. As you can see on the screen, a lot of updating just every single day. That's not the consultancy business. Sorry, 20,000 users per customer. It's not a consultancy. If somebody tells you otherwise, you know what to think about them. Now, let's move on to the third point. I want to show you some test cases about Palantir, which are going to blow your mind. They're making me really excited in a good way. Let me show you. So on the screen right now, you're seeing a page from the presentation I got from an airline employee who uses Foundry. And on this list, you can see all the different aspects where Skywise, which is just literally Foundry, is actually being implemented inside an airline. Now, I want to show you some live test cases. Let me show you some cool stuff. So this is flight operations and ground operations. Check it out. Challenge. Zero fuel weight calculations are often outdated and not specific to a particular aircraft. As a result, unnecessary fuel padding, intentional overestimation of zero fuel weight for aircraft, and unnecessary fuel weight being carried the entire flight are common problems. Carrying extra weight significantly increases fuel costs. Skywise solution. Skywise consolidates data across maintenance, flight ops, weight, and balance, and dispatch systems to create a unified view of actual zero fuel weight, as compared with calculated zero fuel weight, allowing dispatchers to more accurately fuel aircraft for the planned flight, instead of overestimating required fuel, enabling active monitoring of fuel optimization policies. Impact. A US flagship carrier tracking to save 13 million per year in fuel costs after integrating load sheets, dispatch data, sensor data, and flight ops data and aircraft technical data. Required data is flights, load sheets, aircraft technical data, everything that is actually in existence right now. The only thing Palantir does is brings them together and saves you $13 million per year. That's a good business. Challenge. Critical information about aircraft on the ground and recovery is scattered across spreadsheets, MIS system, maintenance logs, and sensor data, preventing airlines from diagnosing drivers and allocating resources to mitigate them. Skywise is a central source of truth for all AOG information, capturing both the cause of AOG and steps taken to return the aircraft to service. AOG is aircraft on the ground. Tracking everything related to diagnosing the root cause of AOG, procuring needed parts, and executing the required maintenance. This data is being integrated with relevant contextual data to determine top drivers and actions for preventing or mitigating them. Impact. For the first time, regional carriers have visibility into the causes of AOGs and also into recovery bottlenecks. This information is being used to design maintenance technician training programs and inventory management schemes to accelerate AOG recovery, resulting in a 25% decrease of AOG hours. And let me explain something. Regional carriers usually operate just the A320s or the similar planes. Essentially, they're buses. Every time that bus is parked instead of driving, the company is losing money. These planes cannot sit on the ground. They're not like a 747 or an A380. These need to be in the air the entire time. AOGs for these sort of regional carriers is a death sentence. Reducing 25% of it based on this software alone is a massive feat. Airlines lack the ability to utilize the full history of operational interruptions to inform the probability of mechanical issue. Without Skywise, data is distributed across too many sources: technical logs, MEL, work orders, sensor data, etc. Skywise integrates all this data. I'm not going to go through the entire shit, but check it out. Impact. Using Skywise, Latham, the airline, reduced delays with prior mechanical issues from 24% to 15% by identifying which mechanical issues were likely to generate a future operational interruption and proactively resolving the issue before it could recur and cause a delay. Oh my God. A 300 aircraft fleet regional carrier calculates 36 less aircraft on the ground annually, a 5% reduction as a result of using Skywise. This is massive money for companies that operate on very slim margins. Challenge. With data siloed across different systems, it is very difficult for an airline to understand how maintenance data, cabin reports, and fault messages interact to action the most severe cabin defects. Given the cabin is often thought of as the face of an airline, rapid triage of severe defects is priority. Now, basically, this software, as you know, integrates all this data, and here's the result. One flagship regional carrier estimates 2 to 4 million per year in savings by using Skywise to tackle chronic cabin defects. And if that's not the quickest way to save $2 to $4 million per year, I don't know what is. Flight safety. This is huge. Check it out. Understanding historical safety trends well enough to identify, address potential hazards, and reduce the rate of high severity occurrences in the future. This is a safety issue. Basically, again, the impact here by Skywise is we enabled the group safety team responsible for flight safety oversight across 7 distinct AOCs to enforce safety policies, including uncovering 40 safety events, which required additional findings to be reported from flight crews, essentially making planes safer. There's no price tag here, even though the costs are enormous. Challenge. Most airlines underclaim on warranties. Matching removals of warranty policies, filing claims, and tracking those claims is a manual process that often results in missed claims. Basically, again, Skywise does a thing. Impact. Based on unclaimed in-warranty removals discovered using Skywise, one flagship regional carrier estimated they had been underclaiming on warranties by 4 to 7 million per year. Do we really need to do more of this? I mean, I have pages and pages of these test cases. Every single one of them is better than the other. If you have any sort of desire to understand Palantir better, I suggest you do your own research, because everything I say in this video is still just my opinion, which means it might be inaccurate, it might be wrong, it might be the ramblings of a madman. You have to do your own research. Allegedly, blah blah, mother effing blah. As always, I hope I brought for you what you needed from this video as far as reliable data and my own unbiased information and opinion. I hope you enjoyed this video. A huge shout out to our channel members and our patrons. If you want to join the community and support the channel, it's $5 per month. The links are below. We'll see you guys in the next video.